And here we are again with Armageddon, part 3. India was wiped out in the flood. It was not the mountainous terrain we see today. The mountains worldwide were pushed up when Mars collided with the Earth. The impact was slow, however, the momentum vast. The water of Mars is missing because it poured onto the Earth during 40 days of rain as Mars was pulled towards the Earth's north pole via its south pole. The gravity of Mars pulled the sea hundreds of miles high. All Earth's seas were drawn into a massive high tide. Slowly, Mars bumped into the Earth's north pole. The impact caused the sea to be pushed out in all directions. A giant wave radiated around the Earth, flooding everything. The impact pushed up Olympus Mons on Mars at 85,000 feet high. It is located at 18.65 degrees north and 226.2 degrees east on Mars. This collision caused the interior molten mantle of the Earth to push up mountains, forming the continents as we know them today, while the moon was punched out through Antarctica. After the flood, India was settled by the Aryan noble of Shem. Now the solar system moves northward at 69,000 kilometres per hour, or 42,874 miles per hour. 4287 in the Hebrew concordance from 4229 means to abolish, blot out, destroy, utterly, wipe away, wipe out, exterminate, obliterate, to strike. The mountains were pushed up. Ararat is 16,946 feet high. The 1694 is the number for Emmanuel from Matthew 1:23. Its value in Greek gematria is 8,880. My brother, born 8.88 years before me, on February the 25th, 1935, when the sunrise to sunset for Sydney was 780 minutes. 780 in the Hebrew concordance is Ararat, or it's Armenia. Ararat is Armenia. This is why the moon is covered with perfectly round, smooth craters, some of them hundreds of kilometres wide, with a mountain at dead centre. The absolute zero temperature of minus 454.75 degrees Fahrenheit caused the molten mass surface to solidify first. The interior gases moved to the surface like bubbles in boiling porridge. And here they are at the bottom there. You can see the side of the moon facing the Earth on the left is very different than the side facing away. Why? And there's the impact of Mars bumping into the Earth, pushed the moon out through Antarctica. And there are the porridge bubbles, the blips in the middle. You've ever watched a bowl of pan of porridge bubbling away? I have. Yahweh likes porridge. The far side of the moon is thicker than the near side. The iron core is 40 miles off centre towards the Earth. This causes the one side to always face the Earth. The craters on the far side are more numerous due to the momentum moving away from the Earth to finally be held in orbit, slowed by the Earth's gravity. The molten mantle momentum caused the far side to be solidifying thicker than the near side. In orbital mechanics, the Sun holds the planets and the Earth holds the Moon in orbit. The Moon being in orbit, but nothing can orbit the Moon, as claimed by NASA. The Apollo missionaries all fake. The Apollo missions, rather. Totally not missionaries. All fake. Cannot happen. Nor can anyone pass through the Van Allen belt and live. Jupiter has 63 moons. None have another moon orbiting them. Now the Sun falls back and forth across the gravitational equatorial line of the Milky Way galaxy like a yo-yo. The galaxy is 100,000 light years wide. The distance around the galaxy is pi, and pi means witness. The number is 4.14159 and goes on and on. However, the 3141 in the Greek concordance means witness. The sun fell from the north side to reach a point south where the galaxy stopped the fall. Then the flood occurred as the planets settled within the new gravity of the sun, moving back northward, speeding up, pulling the planets behind, settling into new orbits. The Earth year was 360 days, increased to 365.2424 days when Mars collided. The impact slowed the Mars day to 24 hours, 39 minutes and 35.244 seconds. Mars axis new tilt 25 degrees. The Earth tilt 23.5 degrees. Now Mars is 4,216 miles wide. In the Greek concordance it means carried away of the flood. The Hebrew Mazzaroth, the 12 signs of the zodiac referenced in Job 38:32. The Grand Canyon on Earth was formed by the water rushing off Mars during the flood. On Mars is a mirror image Grand Canyon, however it is 6 times as large. The sun falling back north, it crossed the Milky Way equatorial line. We predicted the date and how water draining out of your sink would reverse as we approached that point in space. And it was 11:11 a.m. Eastern Australia time on December the 11th, 2011. Water rotates as it drained away from any sink, but fell without rotation, then in the hours that followed the rotation reversed. North of the equator it used to be clockwise, then started counterclockwise. In the southern hemisphere it started to turn clockwise when it used to be counterclockwise. Over the next few hours it reversed and reversed again, then finally sped up, settling down in a constant rotation. In fact, it is possible to build an instrument to reveal the precise location of latitude. On the equator, it drains water without turning, moves just 1 metre north or south. The reversing is observed. It is that precise. This is what has caused the clouds to change from the previous years. The Jews knew it, I told them. So the farting cows were blamed. No, change that. Industrial carbon dioxide. But plants love carbon dioxide, so don't mention it. Bring in a carbon tax. Employ scientists that all agree and reap the cash. Donald Trump doing a good thing by pulling the USA out of the Paris Climate Accord. The Great Pyramid was built before the flood. Its height in feet matches the temperature of space, 455 rounded. It's actually 454.75 minus Fahrenheit, but rounding it at 455. Height of the pyramid rounded is 455 feet. The temperature of outer space is 2.73 Kelvin, which is minus 270.42 degrees Celsius or 454.75 degrees Fahrenheit minus. This is actually the temperature of cosmic microwave background radiation, which is spread throughout the entire universe. The average landmass height is also the same height as the pyramid, so that if all the mountains were levelled and all of the valleys filled in, then the average landmass height would be the same as the pyramid, 454.5833 feet.
Back to the universe number.
Yes, which takes us all the way back to the universe. In inches is 5449. And that just happens to be the Hebrew gematria for Isaiah 19, verses 19 and 20. The Hebrew total for the letters of those two verses is 5449, divided by 12, and we're back to 454.08333. Now 5449 from 5453 is growth by germination or expansion, natural production, lineal descent, by extension a genus or sort. Figuratively, native disposition, constitution or usage, man, mankind, nature or naturel. Now, in the feet number 4540, Hebrew is covering, as with a flood. So India was settled by the pre-flood population, became evil, as did the entire earth, and was destroyed. And today the people are descended from Seth via Shem. The quest for wealth and power brought Europeans to Indian shores in 1498, when Vasco da Gama, the Portuguese voyager, arrived in Calicut, which is modern Kerala, on the west coast. So it was interesting that Kerala was where Thomas arrived in 52 AD to tell the Brahmin priests, who were waiting for the news. He was the one to tell them yes, the crucifixion and the resurrection, and then he baptized the Brahmin priests. So we're looking at Hebrew concordance, the number 1498. The word is gazel, but it means robbery, taken away by violence, something plundered. Not to be outdone, England gained a foothold in 1639. By the time India, well established, they were under Jew domination. Had you been among the cartographers and geographers working for the British East India Company in the 17th and 18th centuries, you would have found all over India thousands of Hebrew-like place names with similar meanings in both languages as well. The map excerpt on this page shows a small section of ancient Siuna Disa, meaning Zion land, in what is now Maharashtra to the right. At the bottom right of the excerpt is the city of Paysan, on the banks of the river Godavari. The Indo-Hebrews named the part of the river passing through Paysan's territory, Paysan, Python, or Python, according to their traditions. In the upper left-hand corner is the city of Satana. According to the legend of the Yadavas, Indo-Hebrews, Satana would have made the spokes in Sodom and Gomorrah envious. The Siunas and the Satanas decided to resolve their moral and religious differences on the battlefield. The forces of Satan lost, but their defeat didn't dishearten them. Eventually, we came to think of Satan as a being who lost the battle but not the war. The Bible tells us that such a peace treaty hasn't yet been signed between these two ancient enemies. In that part of India, the holiest of holies for the Indians, the names of many towns end in the appendage Gaon. In Hebrew, Gaon means genius, great rabbinical scholar. Also in this region is an area that was once the favourite of Yadava royalty, Nashik, the exact Hebrew name for royal prince. Satana is near the district called Kandesh, meaning the land of Cain. There is also a Kodesh, Kod and Kad, are Sanskrit terms for first, beginning, or God. In Hebrew, Kadesh is the first day of a Jewish calendar month. Notice that all these names have similar meanings and religious connotations in both languages. The similarity of these Indian and Hebrew names certainly traumatized European colonists, unwilling to admit that the Jews had never sprouted spontaneously in the Arabian desert, but were from the east, as the Bible itself tells us. They merely erased these matters from their minds or convinced themselves that they were coincidences, even though the coincidences numbered in the thousands and were peppered over every region in India. It was Nimrod of Cain who is the father of the giants, and from them the intermixing of Cain's offspring with as many women they could, eliminated the giant gene, but not the gene of Cain, a murderer from the beginning, John 8:44. All of the pre-flood patriarchs were Essenes, who were vegetarians, hence the Hebrew names in India. Going over to the altar to the Lord, the Great Pyramid of Egypt, the length of the Queen's Chamber is Sodom. The passage leading into it is India. Its length reaches the entrance. Interpreted as leading into the river of paradise to pass through Sodom to the end at the far wall, where the dream causing sorrow in Hebrew 17:27, and in the Greek concordance an adversary or Satan passes away via, then we have the numbers Hebrew 8573 and 857, to come to, arrive at the Greek 857, meaning unsparing severity, by an 8573 God brandishing weapons, via the waving of God's hand, like a two-edged sword slashing with numbers which are latitudes, demonstrating how creation can only be unravelled by Christ. The passage of the Queen's Chamber length at a latitude of 17.278573 degrees north and 15.217914 degrees north. The 7914 in the Hebrew concordance is picture. In the Greek concordance it is astu, a city. We further pry open the nightmare the demons of hell continue to chloroform the masses with. Controlling history via the media distances one's thoughts, diverted from reality, into a cartoon where the Simpsons imprint by clever subliminal thoughts a quantum, causing the Western human bees to swarm. The reality, the war started in Satana's India, where one battle lost by Satan, but not defeated as the war rages on, manipulating the pieces released from Pandora's box, to be arranged in a pictogram of numbers, each part of a dream shaped into a puzzle, with coded numbers arranged by men educated by Jewish-controlled universities to truly believe the names of India are Jewish, when in fact they are Hebrew, as they believe the Hebrews are the Jews, Satan by deception. The Indian Noah story, Sri Lanka, is where the animals from the ark disembarked. It further states that this re-established Garden of Eden, where people dwelled in happiness in paradise, must never leave, but they did, migrating to India where Satan dwelled, and via a causeway between India and Sri Lanka, Satana's influence crossed over. The NASA shuttle has imaged a mysterious ancient bridge between India and Sri Lanka as mentioned in the Ramayana. The evidence, says experts, matter-of-factly, is in the digital image collection. The recently discovered bridge, currently named as Adam's Bridge, and made of a chain of shoals 30 kilometres long in the Polk Straits between India and Sri Lanka. The bridge's unique curvature and composition by age reveals that it is man-made. Legend as well as archaeological studies reveal that the first signs of human inhabitants in Sri Lanka date back to the primitive age. In this epic there is a mentioning about a bridge which was built between Rameshwaram, India, and Sri Lankan coast, under the supervision of a dynamic and invincible figure called Rama, who is supposed to be the incarnation of the Supreme, but was in fact Satana's invention, attempting to re-enter paradise. This information may not be of much importance to the Jewish university trained archaeologists, who are interested in exploring the origins of man, dating it to 1,175,000 years ago, but it is sure to open the spiritual gates of the people of the world to have come to know an ancient history linked to the Indian mythology of the time after the flood of Noah. The causeway is now underwater, indicating pre-flood. It was above the sea level. Just a little while ago I read some Facebook thing about somebody in the USA, a politician I think it is, saying the earth is only 6,000 years old. Look at that. And then all the comments underneath. Oh dear. But in fact it's 36,000 years old. But however, mankind being on it the last day.
Well, we call him one man.
Yes.
So before that came, this doesn't count, he's not a man.
Right.
That dominated.
Right, okay. Noah reversed the expulsion of Adam and Eve in flooding the causeway, as the sea flooding from Mars increased the Earth's sea level, covering the causeway built by Satan from India to enter paradise and to seduce Eve. In the depiction below, artists confused by the origin of the bridge have monkeys and apes carrying stones to build the causeway. The animals on Sri Lanka is where the bird of paradise were taken to Solomon in a vain attempt by Solomon to rebuild paradise in his temple. This is why the king of Babylon was caused to destroy Solomon's temple in 586 BC. Nebuchadnezzar descended from the Chaldean giants of Cain. Then the king of Persia rebuilds the temple of Daniel's God, who was Yahweh. This is why Jesus said of his Father's house, a reference to the world today. In John 2:16, as by then the temple of Yahweh had been built by Cyrus, who financed it. Quoting John 2:16, and said unto them that sold doves, take these things hence, and make not my Father's house an house of merchandise. The construction artwork, artists giving credit to apes and monkeys for building the causeway during the Ramayana epic.